Alright, this is part 5 and the finale of What If Female Deku was Kaguya Utsutsuki. Now, some of you may be wondering why this is going to be the finale. Because 1, I have other projects on these that I want to try. Hold on. Sorry about that. And 2, the series has been put on pause for long enough, and I know that there are other series that I've been doing and I've put off for a while, like Albedo. That needs to be finished. Hold on. Albedo, the hero version of the slime Deku What If, and I believe Siren Head, Frost Dragon, or Ice Dragon, I don't remember, and Alduin's sister. Those ones have been on pause for a while, and I will get back to them, so don't worry. Okay, so this one is I'm gonna cram everything into it. So I'm gonna cram the end of season 3 into it, along with the provisional license exam, and the overhaul arc, and I won't be covering anything from season 5 until it is done. Okay? Alright, so let's pick up where we left off. So, everything else in the training camp arc goes as in canon, the spa scene, and then we get to the Vanguard Action Squad attacking the training camp, with Aizawa basically getting the full blast of Dabi's cremation as he did in canon, with Kaguya then sending out multiple shadow clones, as those shadow clones would then pin down Dabi. As Aizawa would say good job to Kaguya, as Kaguya would then sense... Hold on. Okay. Sorry about that. As Kaguya would then sense something else, as she'd sense that Kota is in danger. And she would tell Aizawa that she has to go and do something real quick, as she would teleport to Kota's location, where Muscular is just about to kill him, with Kaguya launching one of her all-killing ash bones into Muscular. Well, more precisely into his muscle fibers, which would cause them to begin to disintegrate. As Muscular would say, "What the hell?" As you then look up and see Kaguya, and her Byakugan and Renee Sharingan are activated. As Muscular would say, "Oh, so you're the number 1 hero. Didn't expect you to be here." With Kaguya saying, "Well, I didn't expect to find a villain trying to kill a child, so this is nothing new to me." As she would launch 2 more, which would then speed up Muscular's muscles disintegrating. As Muscular would realize that his muscle fibers are going to disintegrate at any moment, as they'd say, "Fine, then I will beat you before these begin to decay." As he would then dash towards her, with Kaguya basically evading all of his punches. And then, basically, I know some of you might not agree with me on this, but Kaguya does end up killing Muscular by sending an all-killing ash bone right through his head, with Muscular's body completely disintegrating, with Kaguya walking up to Kota and saying that she's sorry that he had to see that, and she would then pick Kota up and teleport away. As everything else does go as to in canon, with Bakugo getting kidnapped. As some members of Class 1A, except for Deku, because Deku is not there in Class 1A, they begin their rescue operation for Bakugo. With that going about, with the raid in the hideout going on, Kaguya is currently at the Nomu facility with Mount Lady and Beth Genus, as All For One would walk out from the shadows and blow the entire place up, with Kaguya quickly. I'm not sure if the British Sharingan has this, but I'm going to say that she quickly camel weaves, for plot convenience, I'm going to do this. She basically camel weaves, Mount Lady and Beth Genus away. She tries to camel weave as many people as she could away, including civilians, as the entire area is leveled, but as she couldn't escape the blast in time, so she's thrown back. As she'd land on the ground, where the crater is, as All For One would float down and say, it appears I only got one person. Oh well, since it's the number one hero, I will make do of it. As he then charges up an air cannon, with Kaguya then using a wind release jutsu. I don't know she uses fireball jutsu, which counters the air sending it upward, and moving it away from her. With Kaguya getting up, as All For One would look at her and then recognize her, as she does kind of resemble Nana Shimura a bit, as All For One would say, "Oh, so you're Nana Shimura's daughter." Guessing the apple doesn't fall far from the tree. As Kaguya would basically be pissed at this, as her Byakugan would activate even further, as she would look at all for one's energy points. Since chakra doesn't exist, I'm going to call them energy points. As she then goes for one, as she basically grabs All For One by the helmet and slams them into the ground, with him basically throwing her back, with All Might coming in with a smash, as he would collide with All For One, as they would both begin to fight. Kaguya and All Might would fight All For One, as All Might and Kaguya would have the upper ground until All Might ends up deflating, with Kaguya basically camoing. All For One is about to hit All Might with the air blast, but Kaguya basically camoes All Might out of the way, as they are currently in a different location. All the people Kaguya had camoed are in a separate location. They're not in Kamui's dimension, with an explosion going off and Kaguya being thrown to the ground, as Kaguya would begin to start coughing, as she would be trying to get back up, as All For One would float back down to the ground, with him saying, so you lived like your mother, and now you will die like your mother. As this sets Kaguya off, as she then basically does the hand gestures and summons the outer path, as it basically smacks All For One away, as it would then begin to rise out to the ground, as the chains that I had would come out like it did in canon, with All For One breaking the chains and basically going right through the outer path, with Kaguya thinking to herself, "Screw it, I'll use it," as she would then transform into the 10 Tails. Now, it's not the is the perfected transformation of the Ten Tails. So she's currently fighting All For One like that, and All Might eventually gets back to the battlefield and Kaguya and All Might eventually end up defeating All For One, with Kaguya basically being exhausted, as she would revert back to her normal form and pass out, with Eraserhead, who was already headed towards the area, catching her as she passed out. And after this fight, All Might had lost One For All, so he's gone to retirement now. So Endeavor is currently the number 2 hero, and Kaguya is still number 1. With the provisional license exam going as it did in canon, but with Class 1B there, and the everything else going as it did as well, as we'll then get to the Overhaul arc, with Kaguya, with Eri eventually bumping into Mirio, as Shisaki would say, "Oh, I'm sorry about my daughter. She's very She's very rebellious." As everything, as that part would go as it did in canon, just without Deku being there. With the meeting then being held with Kaguya being there, as her nails are currently tearing into the table, as she's forming her hand into a fist, as this does cause some of the I'm not sure if the table that we're on was metal or plastic, but it starts to bring up pieces of the table, as Kaguya would think to herself that this is disgusting. That this man is willing to use a child for his own personal goals. As Kaguya, as the mission to rescue Eri would begin, with Kaguya basically locating where Overhaul is, as she would basically give Overhaul the exact location, which is underground, and he's moving. As the heroes would then break into the Kaishisaki estate, as everything else. As this goes down, with Kaguya basically dealing with some of the members of the Kaishisaki. I forgot the name of the Yakuza group Overhaul was a part of. I am an idiot. Okay, Sheihisaki, with Kaguya dealing with the members of the Sheihisaki and basically trapping them using a little bit of the infinite Tsukuyomi to trap them in cocoons. But these ones don't turn them into white Zetsus once all their energy is used up. It just keeps them unconscious. As Kaguya begins to deal with everyone else, as they eventually reach Overhaul. With Mirio's fight going as it did in canon, except when Mirio is about to get shot with a quirk bullet, Kaguya basically Kamui's it into Kamui's dimension, where it'll just stay there forever. As she basically taps the Sheihisaki member who fired the bullet, knocking him out, because Kaguya can do that. As once they get to Overhaul does try to merge with the minion they did to get his forearms, with Kaguya basically uppercutting Shisaki into the ceiling, and basically warping Shisaki to a dimension that has that has the very high gravity, as she'd touch Shisaki, knocking him out, as Shisaki would be brought in to the police station and sent to prison. Now we'll get on to the final part of this, which is the appearance of the high-end Nomu, known as Hood. Now, due to Endeavor being the number 2 hero, Hawks is now the number 3 hero, so Kaguya, Endeavor, and Hawks end up having a meeting in the same place that Hawks and Endeavor went to in canon, with Hood appearing as he is wanting to fight the top 3 pro heroes, with Kaguya basically flying out along with Endeavor and Hawks as they would begin to fight him, with Kaguya sending out her all-killing Ashbones and all the jutsus that she has, Endeavor using all the fire he has, and Hawks using all the feathers he has, as this will then collaborate into one giant attack, sort of like Endeavor's Prominence Flare in canon, but much bigger, and Endeavor's not in it, as this would send Hood into the sky, basically disintegrating him, as an explosion would go off, as Kaguya, Endeavor, and Hawks, who are all exhausted, would fall to the ground and begin to catch their breath, as they had won. As we now cut to a couple years in the future. Oh yeah, I forgot to mention this, but Eri was adopted by Kaguya and Aizawa. We'll cut to a couple years in the future, with Hagoromo and Hamura, who are all grown up, as they are saying, "Bye mom, bye dad, we're headed to school now," as they are wearing the UA uniforms, as Kaguya would say to them, "Okay, just be safe and remember to use all the abilities that you got." As they would say, "Yes." As Aizawa would say, "Those 2 kids are going to be the death of us," with Kaguya saying, "I know, but I know they're going to make brilliant heroes in the future." And that is where I'm going to end this series off. I do hope you guys enjoyed this, and I will see you all next time with a new project, maybe, or maybe it's one of the existing what ifs. Who knows? Ta-ta!